Tac. Alors, nous sommes le samedi 2 mai 2020. Il est 4h30 à Paris, 5h30 à Paris, 4h30 à Londres. C'est exact.
Exact.
La semaine dernière, pour te présenter le projet et les éléments d'impact de témoignage, je t'ai présenté les 3 axes sur lesquels on va parler. Je t'ai dit que tu pouvais revenir à chaque moment sur ton témoignage, dire que tu ne voulais plus que ce témoignage existe. Tu peux évidemment répondre à des questions. Et là, dans notre cas, c'est un point particulier qu'il n'y a pas sur les autres témoignages. Il y a une visée aussi pédagogique, donc je t'ai demandé si je pouvais aussi mettre cette vidéo sur YouTube. Voilà. Que évidemment, je t'enverrai avant, tu verras et tu me donneras ton accord. OK. Could you tell me how are you living this historical rupture, this break we're living?
Well, it's quite fundamental in terms of day-to-day life. It feels like someone hit a switch and completely changed the way we live, even though we are still in our homes, obviously, and I live here with my family and they are still here and everything is still around me. I haven't had to move, but still my day-to-day life has been completely changed. So my rhythm, my habits, or everyone's habits around me have changed overnight. I was wondering whether that is kind of a small loss of identity, because you identify yourself with what you do day to day. So things like going for a coffee or meeting friends are not possible anymore, and those are quite fundamental. And at the beginning, I guess this was all very exciting, novel, and it breaks up the kind of day-to-day boredom that you can feel sometimes. And then you move into a different stage where, oh, actually this is around for longer, and this is getting a bit hard now. And how do you marry up all the needs of the different people that you spend so much intense time together with on a small, well, we have a small flat. So it puts completely new pressures on you and completely new demands to your day-to-day life. You can't just draw on whatever you've done last week, because last week is last week and the world has changed. So it's quite exciting, but also very challenging at the same time. On many levels, we're in a lucky position that we don't have to worry about our jobs, for example. We can work from home. So that is a big worry we don't have. We're very fortunate. But there are other worries. Children are not going to school. Obviously, the virus itself, you worry about that. You worry about your parents who are far away, you can't see, and you don't know when you will see them again. That is a big worry. Yeah, so those are the challenges, really. So that's how we live it. At the moment, I feel like we've turned a corner last week. Last week was very stressful, and I think we've now made our peace with the situation, and we'll just take it as it comes. But this might not be the final stage again. We'll go through another round of stages, but it feels like there was this big excitement and then the stressful phase, and now hopefully we're entering into a new normal, a very used phrase, overused maybe, but this is the new normal apparently. I'm not sure about that, to be honest, but let's say this is the new normal for this week. Yeah. And otherwise, what? Yeah. I was thinking, there's also a certain nostalgia that has come up weirdly of the past. I've kept on having references to childhood just because life has simplified so much, you know. It's now about what are we going to have for lunch and what are we going to have for dinner, and where's the next food delivery coming from, you know. It's not when are we going to the theater and we're meeting with these guys in which restaurant or whatever. So it sounds very grand now, you know, completely impossible. Now it's about very simple things. Which board games do you play with the kids now? And that reminds me sort of childhood, things that we would do at home. And sometimes you mock your own parents all they think about is what the next meal is looking like, you know, how boring. But actually, that's what you about food a lot, and enjoy it as well. We cook a lot now. We actually quite like it a lot. The kids are baking, and my husband's cooking. Yay! So yeah, so the simple pleasures are coming up a lot more now. Going for a walk, which we fortunately still do every day, is lovely. Smelling fresh air and seeing a tree when you've been locked up all day inside, that's precious. Whereas before that was just normal. So yeah, the shift has changed. Your attention is switching to different things. Yeah.
Would you say that as a woman, you're living in a particular way or in a different way? Is it more as a woman to live what we're living?
Definitely.
Domestic charge and with the...
Yeah. I can only shout yes to this, even though I'm fortunate that we have a modern relationship, as it were. So I've just mentioned my husband is cooking and things like that. But I think at work, for example, so I'm in an office job, in a male-dominated job, let's say. And they don't get it. They just simply don't get it that I can't sit here at my desk 8 hours a day, uninterrupted, and do the same level of productivity as I would if I travel into work and then don't have children and everything around me. And they have this assumption, they just don't understand. It's not even malicious in any way. They just don't understand what it means to have 2 young children running around, or to have to cook and clean and wash and everything at the same time. They kind of assume you sit down 8 hours and the rest just gets done, you know, whatever. And that's this typical, it's a data gap that we have, I think, about all these little jobs, all these million jobs that you need to do to run life, really. You know, you need to go to the shop, you need to cook, you need to clean, I don't know, little one weed his bed, you need to change the sheets. I mean, and every little, definitely no understanding, I think, in some, or quite, it's probably quite widespread, to be honest, what kind of load that is actually, in terms of time and draining energy, and also mental space, because you're constantly running, you know, a second job in in the other half of your brain. So yeah, that's definitely a challenge. But I think talking about it is very important. So I've done that at work, for example, where you just need to voice it, and you hit a wall all the time. But the more often you say it, not in an aggressive way, just trying to explain it like a phenomenon, like something new to someone that just doesn't understand it because hasn't been exposed to it so much, then slowly it gets there, you know, slowly they understand, and then something will come back. And that is probably also why I feel less stressed this week than I did last week, because I had these conversations, and it's been acknowledged a bit more now. But yeah, it's definitely something I've heard, especially with other women working or not working. I mean, it makes a difference, but all women have this challenge, I think, more than men, unfortunately. Although I'm sure there's lots of men out there who participate a lot in the household as well, but I think we're still left with the majority of the work in general. Yeah, I think definitely and it has a toll, because it just means, because everything is crammed into one day and one space, there's no escape either. You can't just go for a walk whenever you feel you need a walk, or you can't just go and do your yoga class as you would normally do, or meet a friend, or anything like that, or get a cleaner to take off some of the load that you have, so you kind of outsource it to someone, right? You can't do that at the moment, so it's all in-house. It will get better again.
What are your relations with the outside?
Very limited. So you mean real people that I actually see in flesh and
Yes,
blood?
indeed.
I have a friend. Oh well, my sister-in-law drives past sometimes and stops outside the house, and then we have a chat through the window, which is quite nice. And then there's a neighbor who has a daughter same age, and they go to the same school as my daughter. So we kind of stand at 3-4 meter distance and talk every other day or so. That's probably it in terms of interaction with people that are not part of my household, which are real human interactions, not through the internet or anything like that. Yeah. So it's very limited, very limited.
And
I don't count, I guess, people in shop.
what about shop? How does it? Is it?
Shop, yeah, it has. At the beginning, we thought, oh, at least we can go to the shop like an activity, you know, like you used to go to a shop as a form of entertainment. Now it's a chore, like you draw the short straw if you have to go to the shop. It's like, oh, it's my turn, you know, because it's not nice. It's awkward because you have your mask on and your gloves and you constantly feel threatened, even though there's probably not that big a threat, but you just, that's the perception you have. And then when you're in the shop, you feel you need to rush, so you spend as little time as possible in the shop. So I think shopping has definitely changed, and we are in a big city in London, so we are lucky in the sense that we have lots of shops around us that are still open. So we have the choice between going to a huge supermarket or a small shop. We prefer the small shop just because it's quicker and, you know, trying to support the local community as well. But also we are getting a lot more deliveries now than we used to. Also because of the sheer bulk of stuff you need as well. It's quite surprising how much food you actually need. That has completely shifted as well. I hadn't realized how much food you need for 4 people if you're going to eat in all your meals. Because normally the kids would eat at school or at kindergarten. We would eat out because we wouldn't be at home. So we'd eat dinner and then weekends, but sometimes go out as well. And now it's everything. And the kids eat a lot all the time. Blame it on the kids, always. Yeah, so that has, yeah, shopping. So we try and get deliveries as much as possible, but certain things you need to go out.
I had a last question on this moment we're living. What about information? Where do you get your information? What is your relation to social networks?
Yeah, interesting one. So my phone has alerts. So whenever I pick up my phone is my source of information, my main source of information. Some alerts come up, which can be stressful because all you see is that many deaths, that many cases, or something like that. That's the news every day. Then I go to certain websites in German or in English to have at least 2 different languages and 2 different countries as well. I listen to podcasts, which I find quite interesting because I can do things alongside listening to the news, a bit like the radio. What else? Facebook, unfortunately, is a source of information, always with a pinch of salt. And then just social networks that I'm in. So WhatsApp groups that were already in existence before some information comes through there. Mainly WhatsApp. There are a few, but those are the main sources of information. At work as well, I'm, because of the nature of the job I do, I get information in through emails, analysis from consultancies and so on about the topic. So I find that quite useful because it's more scientific or more, yeah, it's more about the facts rather than the whole politics behind it, or at least that's my perception.
The second theme was the past, memories. Did you live, is there something in your life or a historical event that has maybe a link with what you're living today, or that remembers you something, or that was a break in your life?
Yeah, I thought about this, you know, and there's nothing that is like this in my life. But because of the nostalgia being brought back, children that are quite young, it brought me back to bizarrely Chernobyl. Because Chernobyl was when I was, I don't know, 10 or something. And it was the first time that I thought, ooh, this is like a big threat and it's invisible. And this is kind of similar. It's a big threat and it's invisible. And I didn't quite understand it at the time. And I wonder, you know, my children, I explain it to them, but I wonder how much they really understand, because it is invisible and it's weird that you suddenly can't do certain things. So when Chernobyl happened, for example, I was told, well, you can't eat mushrooms anymore. And these parts of Europe or so on, it's really dangerous to go into the woods or whatever. There are stories like that going around. So that kind of reminds me of that. It didn't have as much, nowhere near an impact on my day-to-day life. We just went on with our lives as normal. Nothing really happened, from what I remember. So that there you can't compare it. But in terms of like this threat and this not quite understanding and the childhood thing and drawing that, I think there are some parallels.
And could you explain us shortly what are your memories about what you lived like this time, Chernobyl? Maybe
I was scared.
Scared?
I was in school and I was terrified because my grandmother was far away in Germany, and I had heard that this cloud was going over the north of Germany where she was, and I thought, oh my God, my grandmother, was very worried about her. So I was scared mainly, and then it kind of went away, and I went to see her again, and everything. I was reassured that things were kind of normal. You know, nothing happened. It was just a thing, and then it went away. So yeah, I wonder what, yeah, children now will remember of this time. I think they will remember it. It's such a life-changing and lasting. It's not just a thing that happened for a week, you know, it's weeks and weeks and weeks. So I think they'll remember it.
The third theme was an object.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea? Would there be an object that materializes your memory, or that you would like to, that would you take on an island if you had nothing else to?
Oh no, not in that sense. I was thinking of an object, and I sat on the sofa yesterday and I thought, well, that's the object. I'll show you. It's just a piece of paper, really. But basically, it's a plan that I drew up. I'll show you again. But when I was first told schools will close, we don't know how long for, and I have to work and have children at home, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Complete panic. Really, I was like, the emotions just went through the roof. And then interestingly, the first thing that I tend to do when I am overwhelmed is write things down or have a plan, you know? It kind of is reassuring to have a plan when you have things going crazy around you. I thought, no, I need something to hold on to. So I came up with this plan with my daughter. It's basically just a daily schedule of, you know, wake up, do this, then that, then there's lunch in the middle, do something else, go to bed. But it's still on the wall now, even though we don't really use it as much anymore. But it has these nice colors, and the kids also refer to it still now. It's like, what now? It's, I don't know, quiet time. That never happens, but it's on there. So you have these plans, and I thought, I'm going to take this as an object, because this need for reassurance was definitely there at the beginning. Now that we are in it a little bit more and we know what we're talking about a bit better, the need for it has waned a little bit. But yeah, I wouldn't take it to a desert island though. No.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.